What's up, guys? Kevin Allen here, Geek from DFS Army, and we're talking UFC Fight Night. Yan Dvalishvili. I've got 6 plays for you on this card for PrizePicks, but first let's talk about last week's video. We almost nailed a perfect 5-0, and actually I had done it right on some follow-up lineups that I had made, but we pretty much easily got to our reboss over on significant strikes. Number, Basharat, fight time, Valentina. We got a little lucky there. Was not expecting Grasso to finish her, but I'll take it. The Bo Nickel core play. I put that in everything. I didn't just play Bo Nickel in my UFC. I played it in 2 flex as a tier 1 play, and I've got a tier 1 play for you guys today that you could play not just in your UFC lineup, but in your 2-play power plays, in other 6 flex plays, whatever you're doing here today on Flex Friday on PrizePicks, you'll be able to use my tier, I'm going to call it a tier 2. Not quite a tier 1, but a tier 2 core play on this week's video. But we're following up that 4-1 from last week. So let's get right back into this one. My favorite play on the board. This is a tier 1. Lock it in. Don't just play it on Don't just play it on PrizePicks for your 1 bet. I want you to play this across lots of things until they change it, which will be soon, because I discovered a little bit of an interesting twist in the PrizePicks scoring system that is pretty much going to force this play to happen. And that is Petr Yan over 106.5 fantasy score. And let me break this one down for you real quick. All right. So Yan is in a 5-round fight, sitting as the minus 250 favorite to win. He's facing an opponent in Merab Dvalishvili that is a maniacal takedown attempter. All he does is go for takedowns, and he is called a machine because Merab has a limitless gas tank. He will continue to go for takedowns throughout the fight. It's relevant because PrizePicks awards 3 points for a defended takedown. All right? A lot of people don't know this because that's not how DraftKings scores it, but takedown defense is 3 points. Petr Yan has a 90% historical takedown defense, meaning that Merab is going to attempt a lot of takedowns here that Yan is going to be able to stop, meaning every time he does one of those, he will get a +3. As a matter of fact, in a recent fight against Jose Aldo, who also had about a 90% takedown defense, Merab attempted 16 unsuccessful takedowns. That alone would be about 53 fantasy points. That's huge. Now, one of the dangers in taking fantasy score is, does Yan get finished along the way? Well, Merab is plus 675 to finish this one inside the distance, meaning it's highly unlikely that Merab gets a finish here. So what's left for us? You're almost guaranteed that Yan, in a win, no matter when he wins it, will have defended a shit ton of takedowns and will either have landed some strikes or just get the points that you get for winning a fight. That combination together should easily add up to 106.5. Let's say Yan wins it in round 3. Well, that probably involves a knockdown, a bunch of takedown defense, and a round 3 win. So there's a lot of scenarios in which Yan wins this and hits the 106.5. Obviously, if Merab wins the fight by decision, I actually still think there's a chance that Yan could get there as long as he landed enough or did enough, but probably doesn't get there. But I'm going to take my minus 250 as a tier 2, tier 1.5 scenario where no matter what happens, you have to expect that, minus 250 right here. You have to expect that Yan has that minus 250 odds of winning. So as long as he gets the win, he should easily surpass the 106.5 fantasy score. So that is our core play and the one that I want to build a lot of different 2-play flexes against, and also my 6-pack, my 5-pack, all of that stuff. I can't demo all of that here, but I'm just going to show you in one of these. Actually, I'll show you kind of how we do this, right? So my second top play on this card is going to be Silva, Bruno Silva. Why is CSGO clicked? Bruno Silva. Fight time over 10 minutes. Now, this is an interesting one. So let's first take a look at the odds on this fight of going over 10 minutes. And it's not, this one does not stand out. So the over 1.5 rounds prop is sitting at minus 175 on the best book, but as much as minus 210 or 215 on some other sports books that are legit. So really, really high chance of this going over 1.5 rounds. All we need is to hit 2. So the over 2.5 rounds is actually about break even on some lines, but at worst, it's about 50-50, meaning we just have an odds discrepancy here. Bruno de Silva is a lighter, is a 125-pound fighter, rarely gets finishes. My concern here is actually more that Tyson Nam, his opponent, will land a knockout blow at some point. Picking over on fight time can be dangerous for that reason, but I don't see De Silva really finishing Tyson Nam here. I think Tyson Nam has really good takedown defense. These two it's kind of little guys. I'm actually afraid of the underdog getting the finish early, but we can bet that as a hedge. So if I play a prop like this, and my primary concern is Nam inside the distance, well, or the opponent, Nam in the first 2 rounds, Nam doesn't win by a decision. Nam inside the distance, I mean, it's plus 300. So those are the kind of odds that we want to take. We only need a 58 to 60% implied probability to make this worth doing. We are well within that range. Silva inside the distance plus 165, Nam inside the distance plus 290. And even if he does win inside the distance, that's the whole fight. We're talking about round 2. So I really like the spot. I think it's safe. The Silva fight over 10 minutes. I'm going to lock this in as a 2-play before moving on. So I'm going to lock this one in as a 2-play before moving on and adding more legs to this. So I'm going to reuse the players. Next up, Carl Williams. Big Carl, as they like to call him. Now, this one could be played one of 2 ways. We could play Carl Williams, fantasy score 91.5, or we could play over 2 takedowns. Man, I'm really torn on this one. I think either way can work. I'm going to go with over 91. All right, let's take a look at the numbers here. All right, let's take a look at the numbers real quick. And we're going to make a final call because I'm between those 2. I can't decide. So first, I'm going to take a look at the stats for this fighter. Carl Williams, let's see if we can get it. But he is a takedown monster. That's what he do. Yeah, he is averaging 3 takedowns per 15 minutes. And he just, and the only reason it's just 3 is because his opponents rarely get up. Now, of course, we don't have a large sample size. This is sort of a UFC newcomer. I think he only had a Contender Series fight, but I mean, he goes for takedowns. That's what he does. And I really like the over 2. I'm just concerned that the fight finishes and we don't get that 3rd takedown or something like that happens. But very much the over 2, probably my favored spot, but the 91.5 fantasy score, that works as well. This fight, again, Williams is a pretty hefty favorite here at minus 220 just to win the fight. And when you get a grappling heavy win, you should see enough takedown action to justify that price point. Again, if he is winning, though, it's probably on the back of a couple of takedowns. The only concern with the 2 is, again, that he finishes it early. Let's see what the fight ends inside the distance number looks like here. Minus 165. Yeah, I'm going to go with over 2 takedowns as the official call. But I'm fine if you want to go with fantasy score here as well. This allows us, a loss, but we might still actually cash this play. So let's say the opponent actually wins the fight. Well, Williams probably at least gets 2 takedowns. That's all he does. And if he doesn't get the 3rd, whatever, we'll take the push. So I'm going more than 2 takedowns. I just think it's slightly safer than the fantasy points proposition. So let's go with this one. Now, we never put in a 3-play, but what I will do here again is put in a little 2-play action with my boy Petr Yan. And then we're going to bring De Silva back for our larger parlay. I still have a few spots left. Oh, I forgot to. All right. Bring them all back. Bring them all back before this numbers change. Hopefully you guys are getting these before they see this video and change these numbers. So let's bring these back. We're going to go over 2 takedowns because we're going to build a 6-pack here. Next up, confidence coming down a little bit on this one, but still very, very good odds to hit. All right. And this one is La Femme Nikita Krylov over 95.5 fantasy score. And here's the thing. Let's start with the win odds. Skewed in our favor. Minus 167. That's good enough, right? This is MMA, so anything can happen. And there is a definite possibility that Ryan Spann just puts this guy to sleep early in the fight. So keep that in mind. This is why this one is not going to be a tier 1. This is more like a regular play, minus 167 odds. But what I can tell you is if Krylov wins, he is probably winning in the first or second round, and he should easily do enough to get the 93. Let's take a look at the scoring. So again, the under 1.5 rounds on this one, minus 150. So it should end quickly. Under 2.5 rounds, minus 300. Again, odds makers, and that's the best line, right? It's minus 400 on some other books. So odds makers are very much believing this fight is going to end early. That's number one. Let's take a look at how the scoring. So a favorite in a fight that's likely to end early. Let's look again at how the scoring works. It's a little different than other sites, so keep this in mind. If he wins in the second round, the second round win, which is what the odds are telling us is likely. It could happen in the first, but if it happens in the second, he's getting a 75-point bonus there. There's usually going to be a knockdown along the way if he's winning by finish, or at the very least, a takedown, potentially a few submission attempts along the way. He should have no problem whatsoever. If he wins, that's a big if, right? But he should have no problem if he wins getting the 95.5. This man is favored minus 167 to win this fight. Again, MMA is different than other sports in terms of, there's a high variance. Like Krylov can get knocked out, which is why this is better for our 5 or 6 flex as a spot rather than a core play to build around. But I will tell you with full confidence that if Krylov wins this fight, he is probably scoring more than 95.5 fantasy points, and he is minus 167 to win the fight. So those are good numbers. The odds are in our favor. Katniss Everdeen style. All right. Sorry about that. I'm embarrassed. Next up, Romanov. Another situation where we've got two potential, and again, this is a less confident play. I'm going to call this, as my boy Will Lynn says, these are leans, right? Because some of the early plays, I think, super confident. This one I really like, but there's two ways to play it, and I want to go over that with you guys as well. So we're taking a look at Romanov, and Romanov is a heavyweight fighter that is an insane grappler, right? This man's game is takedown after takedown after takedown. Taking a look at his stats here, you will see that Romanov is attempting over 5 takedowns, 5.18 takedowns per 15 minutes. So I was looking at his different props, thinking about how to play it. Now, it's also important to understand that Romanov is favored here, but not by much, minus 150, which is barely in the area that I'm comfortable with, especially for MMA. I want to really be locked in that my fighter that I'm picking, if I'm running a prop, is going to win. We still have a secondary thing to hit, so he's got to be able to win. But I will say this. The way that this man fights, the number of takedowns that he generally attempts, means that if he does win, there's a pretty good shot that he will cover the 85.5 fantasy score prop. It's available to him. Here's the thing, though. Romanov is a gasser, and I'm worried in this fight that he could be going good early, going good, doing his thing, and then gas out, and then the opponent take over and maybe even get a late finish or somehow win a decision. So I'm looking at that going, well, what's safer? Is it safer to play fantasy score here? Or do we want to shift it over to takedowns? Now, I wish this number was 2. That handle is scaring the crap out of me. I'm almost positive he gets 2. He could get 3 takedowns in the first round. It depends if Volkov can get up from a takedown. We don't know that yet. I'd say probably can, but we'll see. But Romanov will go aggressive on those takedowns early until he gasses out. So in this case, I am going to go with the over 2.5 because I could see a scenario where Romanov gets 3 or even 4 takedowns in the first and second round. gasses out, and by the third round is just standing there, hands on the hips, tired, like assuming he doesn't get the finish. So the risk with the 2.5 takedown play is that Romanov gets an early takedown, bam, 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 ground and pound, gets a finish early, doesn't need a second takedown or even a third one to do it. So this one's a little bit riskier than the other plays. Therefore, I am not going to use this as a standalone. This is just a play to add to our flex. Finally, last spot, and I really love this one. As a matter of fact, I probably should have put this one a little bit higher on the list. I usually like to go in confidence order. Is Silva on here? Where's Bruno? I forgot to put Bruno back in here. Let's put him back in there so we get our full 6 play. I do like to go in confidence order in this breakdown, but actually, as I'm looking at this last one, I think I'm a little more confident in it even than I implied. Actually, I would put this one as probably a tier 3 above a lean. This is a tier 3 play. So this one, we're actually going to also, I love pairing this one with the Petr Yan fantasy score. What is it, you ask? The anticipation is killing you? I feel that. Merab Batista over 116.5 fantasy score. I like the fantasy score props because I don't know, my brain works that way. Now, let me break down why I like this play. Let's take a look at the odds for Merab Batista. Merab Batista is taking on Guido Canetti. Guido Canetti is 44 years old, and I don't think he's gone to decision in a fight in like 10 years. He just gasses out. I don't understand how he's in the UFC. He always loses. He gasses out. It's weird, really weird. But he's 43, maybe 44 at this point. I like Guido, but he's getting up there. Batista is a minus 1,000 favorite. So let's eliminate the worry of him not winning this fight. Minus 1,000, I'll take those odds. If we lose, fine by me. I'll take it. Right? But here's a more important number. Under 1.5 rounds, minus 165. Under 2.5 rounds, minus 280. And all of these are assuming that Batista wins. Right? Because he's minus 1,000. He's supposed to win this fight. And it's super unlikely for this fight to really go over 2.5. As a matter of fact, I don't mind the under 1.5 prop at minus 165. But we'll set that aside. Right? So let's take a look at Batista and what he does, and then we'll look at the scoring. Batista is a well-rounded fighter, and he will attack you with his fists, with his takedown, his wrestling. He can do it all. He's averaging 2.25 takedowns per 15, and it's no problem to take Guido Canetti down. No problem at all. He's also landing 5.6 significant strikes per minute. This man is an action fighter. Merab Batista is no fucking joke. Right? So let's now shift this over to the scoring and understand this is such an underutilized. I didn't even know how the scoring worked till a couple weeks ago because I just thought they were using the DraftKings scoring, and it's not what they do. So let's take a look at the scoring chart once again here because no one's looking at this. This is where we get our edge, right? First round win, 100 points. We're talking about 116. A first round win, a knockdown, couple strikes, and you're already at 116. So unless he wins it on the first blow, if he wins in the first round, we got it, right? Now, if it goes to the second round, that's a 75-pointer. And again, on DraftKings, that second round win is only 50. But like, I think it's 70. It's a little bit less. I think 70, actually. But the takedown, if he goes to the second round, you have to assume a takedown or two along the way, 6 or 12 points, a knockdown, potentially another 12. Ton of strikes landed at 5 strikes per minute. So even a second round win for Batista should absolutely get the job done for the 116.5. And since we're locked into the win with Batista, I really like this play. I'm going to do a 2-pack at the end of this as well with Batista and Petr. But overall, I love this spot. He's going to smash Guido. He should smash him within the round and a half, and that should be enough to cover the points that we need to get this fantasy score prop on our side. So our last spot, but actually I'm going to lift that one up to a tier 3. So that is one worth combining with Petr Yan in a two play. But our last spot, Merab Batista over. Let's place the entry. Boom. Let's bring it back and get that one going with Yan as well. Boom. That's going to do it for this one, guys. Sorry it was such a long one. I hope you had fun breaking down the fights just a little bit with me here. Good luck. I'll see you next time.